Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and that's right, welcome to Little Mermaid Week. Yes, leading up to when the live-action Little Mermaid film arrives, and we're starting off with the Little Mermaid TV series. Yes, so the Little Mermaid TV series. Yeah, I remember years ago when, back in the good old days of Disney Channel and Toon Disney, before it was called Disney XD, both those Disney networks were, doing reruns of some of the good old Disney 90s animated shows, this, and anything from the Disney Afternoon era. And yeah, The Little Mermaid, it was on Disney Channel, and I watched a good chunk of this, and thanks to Disney Plus, yeah, reliving those memories, watching the show years back, and yeah, because it's such a really good show, and taking place before the events of the Little Mermaid film. So yeah, I'll go ahead and read the description, the story. Ariel is a teenage mermaid who lives under the sea with her father, the Sea King, her 6 sisters, and various friends together. They try to keep harm away from Atlantica as enemies try to ruin their peaceful kingdom. Ariel takes viewers on an underwater adventure into caves, meeting humans, and singing songs. Among Ariel's animal friends, or, the description should say sea creatures, but Ariel's undersea creatures, her friends, are Sebastian, a crab who acts as a bad sitter for Ariel, and Ariel's best friend, a tropical fish named Flounder, based on the popular 1989 Disney animated feature film. So yeah, this show had a lot of great episodes for sure. As I said, taking place before the events of the first Little Mermaid film, and definitely taking place after the events of the Little Mermaid, one of the sequel films. Well, technically, it's a prequel. Ariel's beginning, yeah. Yeah. I think some of my favorite episodes would have to be one episode where Ariel is to be betrothed. Yeah, and because King Triton having a talk with this one group of mermaids, this group of mermaids that have never gone to war, but that's what they're like, yet they've never had a war. Yeah, the episode was called Marriage of Inconveniences, if I'm saying that right. I don't think so. Yeah, so that was a pretty good episode. That was one of my favorites. And the other episodes, one of the first episodes of the series was the episode where Ariel befriends a cute orca whale, killer whale, I should say, not orca. Same thing, I guess. Sorry. Spot. Yeah, I remember the episodes with Spot very well. And there was one where Ariel wanted to ride a wild seahorse named Stormy. And a couple of new characters, part of the Little Mermaid franchise. And episode 4, which, yeah, his name is the title of the episode, Urchin, who he befriends Ariel, and yet Urchin, we never saw Urchin in anything else Little Mermaid, the movies. What happened to him? He didn't stay in Atlantica for long, I guess? I don't know. And also, the series did have a couple of villains, Ursula. Yeah, Ursula did appear on the show at times, and once again, Pat Carroll reprising the voice role of Ursula. But some of the new villains that appeared on the Little Mermaid series were these two funny sea creatures, Lobster Mobster and Shrimp. And Lobster Mobster was voiced by the late Joe Alasky. Da Shrimp was voiced by the late David L. Lander. And, like, they were, like, mischievous sea creatures, you know? And there was also the evil Manta, voiced by the legendary Tim Curry. Yeah. I do remember those episodes very well. In fact, the one episode that I believe was the last episode of the series where Evil Manta has a son, and he's trying to raise his son to be evil and such. But then his son starts to slowly but surely, like, befriend Ariel, and he wants to go to school, and he doesn't really want to become an evil Manta like his father. So that was a pretty good episode, and I remember the song that Evil Manta sings, you know, go to sleep, like a lullaby to his son, you know, in his own lullaby. And speaking of which, like, you know, from Lobster Mobster, Da Shrimp, and Evil Manta, there was one episode where, like, almost the entire, like, cast of characters, like, came together in this one episode called Thingamajigger. In that episode, like, yeah, Ariel discovers a shoe or a boot, you know, and the description reads, "Bad luck strikes the kingdom after Ariel finds Prince Eric's boot." And speaking of Prince Eric, now mention it, Prince Eric did appear on the series at times, but because this takes place before the events of the movie, well, you know, Prince Eric and Ariel, they never meet, and Ariel never sees Prince Eric's face. In fact, she does say something about, you know, seeing Prince Eric, you know, oh, I wish I would have seen his face. Had she seen his face in the series, yeah, things would have changed, obviously, you know, before the events of the Little Mermaid movie. Because, yeah, like, before the movie, Ariel's so curious about, you know, humans and what they're like, and her collection of human stuff, you name it. So that episode, the Thingamajigger, that's, you know, everybody underwater, including King Triton, thinks that a shoe is a big threat. And this catches the attention, this gets the villains' attention. Evil Manta, Lobster Mobster, and Da Shrimp. They think it's something magical and powerful that could destroy Atlantica. Well, Evil Manta, that is. And no, it's just a boot, like, like, it can't do anything, so, you know, and that's, you know, that's what's funny, so, you know. And by the way, there was one episode of the Little Mermaid series where, we get, like, a backstory of how Ariel and Flounder met, and, yeah, that's a good story to tell, and how they became best friends. But with, you know, the events of Ariel's beginning, yeah, like, Disney, you messed up on that. So, you know, and until I talk about that, you know, the rest of that in my review of Ariel's beginning. Yeah. Also, I want to mention this. There was one episode, like, there were a couple of episodes where, Ariel befriended, a deaf mermaid. Yeah, and her name is Gabriella. Ariel befriends Gabriella, and Gabriella has an octopus that can help translate what Gabriella is saying. And fun fact about Gabriella, she was based upon a real little girl, a fan of the show, and, you know, she sadly died during its first season. And that's very sweet. That's very touching, you know, what Disney does sometimes, you know, that's really good. So yeah, those episodes were pretty good. And about Ursula, because I mentioned Ursula, whenever Ursula appeared in the series, yeah, the episodes that featured Ursula were pretty good. Like, you know, one episode where, like, Ursula, like, basically, like, turns everybody into shrimp, I want to say. And basically, in that episode, Sebastian, you know, has a competitor, and the episode being titled Tale of Two Crabs, and the description reads, Sebastian feels threatened by his arch-rival Zeus, while Ursula plots to turn everyone into polyps with a magic stone. So, polyps, that's what they're called? Okay. Yeah, and it's pretty funny because Ursula pretends to be Sebastian's crab godmother or fairy crab mother, however they say it. And with the help of Zeus, defeating Ursula, and all ends well. And Sebastian, like one thing that Zeus, cannot do that Sebastian does is, well, being, I guess, if I remember correctly, it's Sebastian being King Triton's right-hand crab. So, yeah. So that was a pretty good episode, and there was one where, and I had totally forgotten these two plots were in this one episode, because there was one episode where, it's in one episode. Ariel becomes a sea witch, and Sebastian becomes giant. He becomes a giant crab, and it's Ariel's doing, because she turns into a sea witch. She makes Sebastian grow big. So yeah, I totally forgotten that it was those two plots were in one episode, and that being the ninth and final episode of season 2. Thank you for dat Ariel. That, how Sebastian speaks in Jamaican, thank you for dat Ariel. The description reads, Ariel enters a magic cave to become a sea witch, and uses her newfound magical abilities to make Sebastian a great big crab. So yeah, that was a pretty good episode. And before that episode, this was a pretty interesting one. Episode 8, Metal Fish. A human explorer boards a primitive submarine to explore the undersea realm and crosses paths with Ariel. Yeah, I had no idea that the human explorer in the submarine and, oh my gosh, and I didn't know this either. There was one mermaid that accompanies Ariel, and, he's this one mermaid that, is so fascinated about humans and such, and he believes that they're not really a threat. Unlike King Triton, we know what he's like, and, he kind of overthinks about humans, and it's true. Archimedes, if I'm saying that name right, he was voiced by Rob McKeegan, if I'm saying that right. The human explorer, we find out at the end of the episode, the human explorer that Ariel and, Sebastian's crab scouts and King Triton, they help the human explorer and his cat get back up to shore, because their submarine was crashing, it was flowing with water. We find out that the human explorer was Hans Christian Andersen. And that's pretty clever, because after his encounter with Ariel, he wrote the story, The Little Mermaid. And I did not know this until now. As I'm recording this, yeah, it was Mark Hamill that voiced Hans Christian Andersen. That's really awesome. I had no idea. And speaking of the voice actors, in the show, the only ones from the Little Mermaid movie to reprise their roles are Jodie Benson as Ariel, of course, the late Samuel E. Wright voicing Sebastian, and Kenneth Mars voicing King Triton, the late Kenneth Mars. And yeah, as I said, Eric did appear in the show, but he was not voiced by his original voice actor. He was voiced by Jeff Bennett. And Scuttle the Seagull, he did appear in the show. In fact, there was one episode where Ariel, Flounder, and Sebastian first meet Scuttle. So yeah, that was a good episode. Scuttle was unfortunately not voiced by Buddy Hackett. I guess Buddy Hackett was not available, I assume. Instead, he was voiced by Maurice LaMarche, which, yeah, he could do a pretty good Buddy Hackett impression, because gotta do that voice, like that. And just like, say, the grandfather in Princess Bride. He could do a good impression of him, so yeah. Anyways, there was also, I actually, not too long ago, watched this one episode, which was, it came out around Halloween. And it was, yeah, because it came out on October 1st, which was Island of Fear. The description reads, a stream of plutonium threatens Atlantica. So basically, like, in this episode, yeah, and along with Ariel, Flounder, and Sebastian, Scuttle, they discover, yeah, plutonium that's in the water, and they go and find it, and they find this, like, haunted, creepy castle, and, basically, like, you have your own, like, I guess, Dr. Frankenstein or whatever, and yeah, and there was the doctor's assistant named Daniel, a young boy who actually at one point saved Sebastian from being used for crab experiments. Yeah, I do remember that episode because I remember Sebastian being captured by a kid. But because I had watched this show, I first watched it years ago, so, I remembered it differently. You have those feelings where you remember it differently. So this episode, yeah. And I had thought that Daniel had met Ariel, but he never does. So yeah, and in fact, the Dr. Frankenstein wannabe in this episode was voiced by Kenneth Mars, aka the voice of King Triton. So yeah. So that was pretty interesting that the Little Mermaid series had its own Halloween episode. Not to mention, and actually, after that episode, in Season 3, Island of Fear, that was Episode 3. Episode 4, it was titled Land of the Dinosaurs. And this episode I had not seen before until a while back. The description reads, during a trip to the North Pole, Ariel finds frozen dinosaurs and thaws them with her father's Triton. Yeah, because she felt that the dinosaurs shouldn't be left there to be frozen, and eventually, King Triton unthaws part of the North Pole, so the dinosaurs have their own piece of land. So that was very nice. What a good way to end the episode. And that makes sense. It's pretty funny. In the Little Mermaid series, it's fiction. Some dinosaurs did survive. And apparently there is one moment where the dinosaurs they're underwater. They're not swimming or anything like that. They are running, in the ocean grounds. Like, okay, that's how do they explain that? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, and also, like, a couple of other episodes I want to mention. There was one episode in Season 3, it was called Beast Within. The description reads, Flounder gets bitten by a howling hairfish and starts to turn into one. So basically, it's this episode's version of, Wolfman, basically. Flounder turns into a werefish. And literally, there's a group of mermaids that are villagers, like those type of villagers, with pitchforks and torches. Yeah, of course, you have to have that. And also, there are a couple of episodes that center on Sebastian. Aside from the one where he grows giant, there's one episode where he actually quits his job and he tries to find another job. And there's one where he becomes king, and I believe it's where his parents come in. I'm pretty sure, yeah. But yeah, overall, the Little Mermaid series, it was a really good show, and, for new generation of Little Mermaid fans, especially, little kids getting to watch this show on Disney Plus, that's good. That's really good. Definitely recommended, for little ones. And, who, love Disney princesses and, anything Little Mermaid. And definitely, I'm giving the Little Mermaid animated series 10 out of 10 stars. Yeah, because it's a really good Disney animated show, and especially in line with, all the other great Disney animated shows from the 90s. Definitely. And what about you guys? What do you think of the Little Mermaid animated series itself? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Little Mermaid animated series. More reviews coming your way. They're gonna be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And as I said, Little Mermaid Week has begun. Stay tuned for the movies. Take care, and peace out.